Welcome back. We are really thrilled you're joining us for today's deep dive.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get through today.
We really do. Our mission today is, well, it's an incredibly exciting one because we are basically sorting through this massive and frankly kind of chaotic stack of sources.
Chaotic is definitely the word for it.
Right. I mean, we've got everything in front of us. From viral YouTube rants and breaking NFL free agency news transcripts, all the way to this leaked insider playbook on film room analysis.
It's a really fascinating mix of material to sift through because what stands out almost immediately is this massive collision, right? This collision between highly emotional, fan-driven reactions on one hand and then the cold, calculated realities of front office team building on the other.
Yeah.
You've got people just yelling on the internet on one side and then guys in suits doing advanced math on the other.
Exactly. And that collision is exactly what we want to dissect for you today. Because the NFL offseason is this wild blend of, billion-dollar decisions and highly emotional sports media takes.
Right.
So today, we are going to try to bridge the gap between casual fandom and pro scouting. We're exploring why teams make these seemingly crazy decisions, looking specifically at the contrasting philosophies of this 2026 free agency frenzy.
Yeah, we're going to be unpacking a pretty viral debate regarding Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray.
Oh man, that one is wild.
Oh, it really is. And then uncovering the truth behind what the media is loudly calling a disaster in Philadelphia. And finally revealing a leaked blueprint that is fundamentally changing how fans actually watch the sport.
Speaking of picking winners, listen up. This April, the SkyBoxx is hosting the coldest panel in the game. It is gonna be ice cold. We're giving away golden tickets to our loyal viewers. If you win a golden ticket, you get a seat at the table.
So let's just jump right into this viral spark because it essentially set the internet on fire this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Our sources pulled a clip from sports media personality Bomani Jones. And his take was just blunt.
Very blunt.
He stated point blank that he would rather have Kyler Murray as his quarterback than Jalen Hurts. And he even took it a step further, questioning if Murray is better than Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and you can imagine the pushback to that was immediate and intense. We reviewed the transcript from the Speakeasy YouTube crew, and their reaction is this perfect study in how football is analyzed by people who study the tape.
Yeah.
Versus people who just, look at the highlight reel.
Right, the flashy plays.
Exactly. They were emphatic that football is, as they put it, played on the grass.
Played on the grass.
Not on paper, not in a video game. To them, that initial take was just completely void of real football logic.
Because on paper, in shorts at a practice facility, sure, Murray has the raw athletic talent.
Unbelievable talent.
But the Speakeasy guys actually called him a lunchtime recess quarterback.
That phrase is so good.
It is. And they broke down the specific criticisms of Murray, and the imagery they used is just brutal. They described his tendency to scramble off script as looking like, and I'm quoting here, a badass toddler lost at Target looking for his mommy.
It's a harsh visual, for sure, but think about why that analogy works so perfectly.
Right.
When a play breaks down, Murray relies almost entirely on his freakish athleticism to just run around in circles until something opens up.
Just chaos.
Total chaos. It lacks structure. And it's not just the on-field mechanics that are under fire here. The sources highlight Murray's documented struggles with leadership and managing big personalities in that locker room.
Yeah, the commentators specifically pointed out his inability to effectively integrate guys like Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
and Michael Wilson and Michael Carter into the offense. You have all these weapons, but the quarterback can't orchestrate the distribution.
Exactly. And it seems like Murray himself is starting to recognize the gravity of that leadership void. He recently released an apology statement for the Cardinals' 7-year drought. And he didn't just give the standard press conference answer of, we need to execute better.
Right, the usual PR spin.
His exact words were, "I'm sorry I failed us."
Wow.
Yeah. The accountability is a step, but it really frames where he is in his career right now. But we should look at the business side of Kyler Murray, too, because the Speakeasy guys brought up something fascinating regarding his contract.
Well, the Call of Duty analogy.
Yes. They specifically teased it as being similar to playing Call of Duty.
So how does a video game explain a multi-million-dollar NFL contract? Walk us through that.
Okay, so think of what front offices call offset language, like dropping a high-tier weapon in Call of Duty.
Right.
The Arizona Cardinals already paid the incredibly heavy price to buy Kyler Murray. He is guaranteed $36.8 million from them in 2026.
That is a massive number.
Huge. But because of the offset language in his deal, if the Cardinals were to release him, another team could just walk by, pick up that elite asset, and only pay the absolute veteran minimum of $1.3 million to use him.
You're kidding.
No, because Arizona is still legally obligated to fit the rest of the bill.
That is wild to think about. You could potentially get a former #1 overall pick for pocket change because his old team is trapped by their own guaranteed money.
Exactly.
Now, contrast that entire chaotic situation with Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
The Speakeasy crew was adamant that Hurts is in a completely different stratosphere.
No, completely.
He steps up when needed most. He doesn't make the catastrophic off-script mistakes. And crucially, he commands the respect of massive alpha personalities in that locker room. I mean, guys like Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, they follow him without question.
Right. And when you look at Brock Purdy, the distinction is all about timing.
Timing, yeah.
The analysis notes that Purdy thrives because he plays on time. He operates within the rigid structure of the offense. He hits his back foot, and the ball just comes out.
No running around like a toddler at Target.
Right, exactly. That is a stark contrast to Murray's heavily off-script style.
Yeah.
It's the difference between a master system executor and an improviser whose improvisations simply aren't yielding playoff wins.
It's really worth asking yourself how often we evaluate people, whether that's, evaluating a quarterback, a coworker in business, or even a friend in life, based on pure, flashy, raw talent versus the vital intangibles. Durability, timing, leadership, the ability to galvanize a group. Those things don't always show up on a viral highlight reel, but they are the literal difference between winning and losing. They absolutely are. And if we connect this idea of flashy emotional takes versus the underlying reality, it transitions perfectly into what is happening in Philadelphia right now.
Oh, the Eagles.
Yeah, that exact tension is playing out in real time with their free agency moves.
Let's look at the start of the 2026 NFL free agency. Because if you scroll through the media narratives in our sources, they are screaming that the Eagles are experiencing an absolute disaster.
The disaster, yeah.
They are literally calling it a bloodletting.
Well, the sheer volume of departures is massive. I mean, you have Jalen Phillips taking a huge payday to go to the Panthers. Nakobe Dean is heading to the Raiders. Reed Blankenship signed with the Texans. Jahan Dotson went to the Falcons.
And remind yourself, this is on top of previously losing Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Darius Slay, and legendary offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland.
It's a lot of talent walking out the door.
If I'm an Eagles fan watching that much talent walk out the building, I am hitting the panic button. How do you justify letting that much production just leave?
It looks like a disaster if you were only looking at the names on the back of the jerseys. But our sources provide a deeply analytical counter-narrative to this.
Okay.
One of the sports analysts we reviewed broke this down as an absolute masterclass in roster management by Eagles general manager Howie Roseman. They call it the suits and ties analysis.
Suits and ties.
Right. The core philosophy you have to adopt to understand this is brutal but necessary. And it's simply this: players come and go.
Because the NFL isn't Major League Baseball.
Exactly.
There's a hard salary cap. You quite literally cannot pay everybody, no matter how much the fans love them.
That's it. Roseman operates on a very specific, ruthless formula. And a key tenet of that formula is do not overpay edge rushers.
Interesting.
While other teams will just back up the Brinks truck for guys who generate pressure but maybe lack top-tier sack numbers, Roseman lets them get paid elsewhere. By letting these high-priced free agents walk, the Eagles manipulate the NFL rules to collect compensatory draft picks down the line.
Which means letting a guy leave today turns into a free draft pick tomorrow.
Precisely.
And then they rely on hitting on young, cost-controlled draft talent to fill the gaps. The sources specifically highlight players like Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, and Jalen Carter.
Yep.
You draft well, you let the expensive veterans walk, you collect the comp picks, and you repeat the cycle.
That's the formula for a dynasty.
Hit that like, subscribe button if you want more Philadelphia Eagles and NFL content. Every time you hit that like and subscribe button or you comment on one of these videos, you might get me or one of the coldest panel in the game comment on your comment. All you have to do is hit that like, subscribe button and also comment below. Back to our show.
But with all these departures, my feed is full of rumors that A.J. Brown is next on the trading block. Is there any truth to that?
If you listen to the emotional panic of the fans, sure, everyone is on the block. But if you look at the math, which is really the only thing the front office cares about, creating him is practically impossible.
Why?
Because moving A.J. Brown before June 1st carries a devastating $72 million dead cap hit.
Wait, $72 million in dead money? That would completely paralyze the franchise.
It would.
You'd be paying a massive chunk of your salary cap to a guy playing for someone else.
Which is exactly why the analysts noted they aren't going to move him unless a team makes an offer they absolutely cannot refuse. It's simply bad business. And while everyone was screaming about this supposed bloodletting, we see the payoff of this patient, calculated approach.
They made a move.
A very quiet, highly strategic, low-risk move. They snagged former Seahawks Pro Bowl cornerback Tariq Woolen on a one-year deal worth up to $15 million.
Woolen's physical specs are incredible. We're talking about a guy who is 6'4", 200 pounds, and runs a 4.2 40-yard dash.
Creeks athlete.
The sources describe him as an uber-talented pickup. The only caveat mentioned is that he needs to keep his head on straight.
Right.
If he's locked in, he's a top-tier asset acquired on a relatively cheap short-term deal. Plus, the sources mentioned that hiring Sean Mannion was a massive under-the-radar coaching move that will really help anchor this transition.
It really is. And this quiet, surgical approach by Philadelphia stands in stark contrast to what the rest of the league is doing.
Oh, big time.
Because while Howie Roseman is collecting compensatory picks and playing the long game, other front offices are pushing all their chips into the center of the table. And moving over to the Patriots, New England made a huge splash of their own on the offensive side of the ball. After releasing Stephon Diggs, they handed a massive 4-year, $80 million contract to Romeo Doubs.
The evaluation of Doubs in the source material is glowing. They view him as a true multi-level weapon. But what makes a receiver worth $80 million to a rebuilding team?
It's all about scheme fit and reliability. A multi-level weapon means he isn't just a deep threat or a slot guy. He can attack outside the numbers, he can work the dirty areas between the hashes, he can run complex stutter goes, and he can win 50-50 balls in tight coverage.
He does it all.
Right. They see him as the exact type of reliable, do-it-all target that a young quarterback like Drake May absolutely needs to take the next developmental step.
Makes sense. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills address their own receiving core by executing a trade with the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
The Bills send a second-round pick to Chicago in exchange for DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is coming off a season where he had 50 catches for 682 yards.
Consistent production.
Buffalo clearly believes his route running fits the aura of their offense and that he can be the reliable #1 target for Josh Allen. And then you have the reigning heavyweight champions, the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Chiefs made sure to lock down their homegrown talent. They re-signed Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker III to a 3-year, $43 million deal.
Huge.
But the Chiefs' move that really stood out in the sources, the one that shifts the conversation away from salary caps and back to human motivation, was regarding Travis Kelce.
This was fascinating. Kelce decided to stay in Kansas City on a 1-year, $12 million deal. And what's truly compelling here is the human element behind why a guy who has won everything decides to put his body through another grueling NFL season.
Right, why keep going?
Exactly. He actually credited his fiancée, Taylor Swift, for inspiring him to keep going. He talked about seeing her constant joy in her profession, her incredible drive to keep going back to the table, and her desire to find, and I quote, new melodies.
It is a fascinating psychological insight. We spend so much time analyzing offset language and dead cap hits, but sometimes it just comes down to inspiration.
Just raw motivation.
Yeah. Kelce noted that watching her maintain that intense love for her craft motivated him to realize he isn't done either. He still has ideas in the back of his mind and juice left to play the game. He wants to find his own new melodies on the football field before he finally hangs up his cleats.
It's a rare, highly transparent glimpse into the psychological drivers of an elite athlete in the twilight of his career. Which actually brings us to the final piece of our source material today.
The blueprint.
Yes. We've talked about the emotional fan takes, the cold roster math, and the human element of motivation. Now let's look at how we as viewers are supposed to process all of this conflicting information.
You ever meet that fan that just ride with QB1 through everything? It doesn't matter what the media says. They're committed. They're loyal. Reign leaders know. They already know. QB1, train to go. They're not worried about injuries or rumors. They pull up repping that #1 on their chest every single week. If it sounds like you already know the move on rivalry week. This isn't just a derby, it's a state. Gear up and show your colors, and check the description for the link.
Micheal's philosophy is rooted entirely in providing objective clarity.
Objective clarity.
The core thesis is that people are exhausted by the loud, emotional takes that just react to the box score. They don't want someone yelling at them about who won or lost, or calling a quarterback a toddler just for the shock value.
Right. What fans actually want is to be a fly on the wall in the coach's meeting room.
Yes.
The SkyBoxx approach focuses on deep scheme breakdowns, understanding the complex roster architecture, and explaining what they call the aura of the offense and defense.
The aura.
Exactly. They aren't looking at the name on the jersey. They're looking at the intricate chess match happening before the ball is even snapped.
Just relate this directly to your own experience watching a game on Sunday. When you learn to watch football like a pro scout, when you understand the harsh math of why Howie Roseman lets a star player walk instead of just getting angry that your favorite player is gone, it provides what the document beautifully calls an exhale of clarity.
An exhale of clarity. It means the game finally makes logical sense. You aren't just watching a chaotic collision of bodies on the turf. You are seeing the strategic intentions behind every single snap, every free agency signing, and every draft pick.
The blueprint uses a fantastic analogy here. It says it's like turning the lights on in a room where everyone else is just blindly guessing where the furniture is.
That's perfect.
Once you see the room clearly, you really can't go back to stumbling in the dark.
And that is exactly what we aim to do here by synthesizing these diverse sources. Whether it's applying that objective clarity to understand why a viral take about Kyler Murray misses the mark on those intangibles, or using the suits and ties math to see why the Eagles' so-called bloodletting is actually a masterclass in salary cap management. It's all about finding that clarity.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today. We journeyed from the loud, emotional debates about pure talent versus steady leadership with Murray and Hurts. We navigated the cold-blooded, calculated roster management of the Philadelphia Eagles and the math behind the compensatory pick madness. And we examined the massive high-stakes gambles being made by teams like the Ravens and Patriots, who are pushing their chips in for immediate success, while the Chiefs find new human motivations to keep their dynasty alive.
It's a lot to take in, and as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final to chew on, building on everything we've unpacked today.
Okay, what is it?
We've watched brilliant general managers effectively play Moneyball, exploiting offset language to get former stars for the veteran minimum, and willingly letting fan-favorite players walk to secure compensatory draft picks.
Right, the suits and ties approach.
Exactly. But if this suits and ties formula is the most sustainable way to build a roster, how long until the NFL Players Association steps in?
Oh, wow.
Are we headed for a massive labor strike in the next collective bargaining agreement? Because middle-tier players are being completely squeezed out of the financial middle class of the NFL by these compensatory pick formulas.
That is a fascinating and honestly slightly terrifying ripple effect. Because if the system demands that you either get paid like a superstar or you play for the veteran minimum so the team can collect draft picks, the entire middle class of professional football players could just vanish.
If the math fundamentally breaks the labor force, the next big collision won't be on the field. It will be in the courtroom.
Something heavy to mull over the next time you see a breaking news alert about a blockbuster trade or a massive free agency signing. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking beyond the box score, keep searching for that objective clarity, and most importantly, keep asking why instead of just reacting to the noise. We'll catch you next time.
Let's make this epic!